Here are the 5 things that you need to know about today. So let's start with number one. Number one is the Federal Reserve meeting. All eyes on Jerome Powell this afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to hear from Fed Chief Jerome Powell as officials there are working to figure out what in the world to say about the future of our economy. So what I'm looking for is a couple of things that I'm going to be watching for is about how long they plan to continue these low interest rates. Remember, the central bank, of course, is releasing its policy statement today around 2 p.m., and then they'll be opening up for their press conference at 2:30. I'll be watching it very closely. What I want to know from Fed Chief Jerome Powell is what about forward guidance? Okay, so there's four key things that I want to watch for today, and I will report on this later today and into tomorrow's show as well. Forward guidance. So what will they tell us about how long they plan to keep interest rates at zero? I'll be watching for that. I'll also be looking for rate dates. Say that 5 times fast. Rate dates. Nearly all of the Fed officials in their June meeting minutes projections saw through 2022 that they would be keeping these rates at near zero. So has that changed? Or will we have more definitive dates, more definitive rate dates? How many of you can say that 5 times fast in the chat? Rate dates. I know everyone watching right now is trying to say that as quickly as they can. Rate dates. So will it continue through 2023? We will see. So all eyes on that. Thank you so much, Tay, who became a new subscriber. I appreciate that. The economy is the third thing that I'll be watching for. So how do they feel about the economy? This is, to me, the most important thing. So again, the economy. What will the Federal Reserve say about the broader economy? Is there trouble? Now, if you paid attention to any of my reporting over the past few weeks and you cut through the BS and the smoke, they have been saying that they are troubled about the economy. Specifically, that they have concerns that these easy gains from reopening the economy could mask deeper scars. Quoting, they said, as the most vulnerable businesses shut down and employees in hard-hit sectors face longer spells of joblessness. Look, folks, I've talked about the real number we need to be paying attention to is that permanent job loss number. The people who are not looking for work anymore. Those people are not reflected in the unemployment numbers that we get every month. And everyone in the White House and Congress jumps up and down. Oh, it's 8.4%. We all need to pat ourselves on the back. No, you idiots. That's not an accurate number. Number one, that number is always wrong. But number two, that number doesn't account for the people who've lost their jobs permanently and are not actively seeking employment because they're not receiving unemployment benefits. They're basically out of the entire system. That's how an economy collapses. When that number of people become poor, the poverty level in our country increases dramatically. That's the number to pay attention to. So again, the third thing I'll be looking for from the Fed today is their outlook on the economy. What do they say about that? And the fourth thing that I'll be looking for is about this bond buying program. You know, the Federal Reserve has been buying up a bunch of garbage. You know that, right? They've been buying up a bunch of these mortgage-backed securities and other pieces of garbage that Wall Street does not want to buy. Junk bonds, crap. Wall Street doesn't want it, but guess what? Wall Street's happy that the Federal Reserve is buying all of this garbage. So how long will they continue to do it? That is the big question. They are spending $80 billion a month buying up junk right now just to keep the liquidity of the market flowing. I want you to wrap your heads around that for a second. Did you hear me? This is why the rich get richer, folks. Thank you for your super chat there. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for that super chat. That's so kind of you. John Shanks. You know, here's the thing. With them buying up all of these junk bonds at $80 billion a month, just think about that for a second. That means the money that they could be putting into the economy to help schools, to provide some sort of universal basic income in this country. I mean, our education system is in shambles when compared to other parts of the world. How do we not have universal health care for everybody? Medicare for everybody, public education for everybody in this country. We're the richest country in the world, and we're spending $80 billion a month buying up crap, buying up junk bonds that even Wall Street doesn't want. This is how the system works, folks. We should be outraged about it. That's what this show is all about. You're not going to see CNBC talking about this. You're not going to see MSNBC talking about this, CNN or Fox. No, because they're all driven by corporate masters who love that Wall Street's doing well, that they're making profits hand over fist. That's what this show is all about. So those are the 4 big things I'm going to be watching for from the Federal Reserve today. The second big story that you need to know about today is that teens, this is the most outrageous story. I mean, there's a lot of outrage in today's show, but holy smokes, this is about one of the most outrageous things I've heard in a while. This is a troubling story. It's a sneaky way of trying to go around campaign laws, basically. Teenagers, some of them minors, are being paid to pump out messages on social media at the direction of Turning Point Action, which are pro-Trump super PAC, basically. A prominent conservative youth organization based out in Phoenix. The Washington Post started noticing these messages online. They started digging into it. Good for the Washington Post on this story. Good. They started digging into these messages, and they started noticing that a lot of these messages that were being posted on Twitter, Facebook, etc., were coming from teens, many of them minors, who were being paid by this group to pump out these random pro-Trump messages so that it looked like it was natural and real. So like a 14-year-old's tweeting about President Trump, I mean, some of the messages were pretty ridiculous. I mean, you know, I don't even want to go into some of the messages because I don't want to promote that type of behavior and even further put these messages out there. Well, Twitter's looked into it. Facebook's looked into it. Now they've shut down about 20 accounts that have been involved in this scam. They are saying it's manipulation and spam, platform manipulation, that they're being paid for it. It's not an ad, so, you know, Facebook can't charge them for an ad. But the kids are getting money. And the parents love it because these pro-Trump organizations are sending money to these people's kids to influence the election. It's outrageous. But they responded. They were asked about this. So one person, well, first of all, one person said, look, in 2016, there were teenagers in Macedonia that were interfering in our election by running a troll farm and writing salacious articles that got memed and pushed out all over the internet, of course, and how President Trump won was, in large part due to all of this misinformation campaign. It was brilliant. They used the internet to pump out all these fake messages about Hillary Clinton and that, all this stuff. Hillary Clinton also ran a terrible campaign. If she ran a good campaign, maybe she could have overcome that. Nevertheless, this misinformation was a huge reason Trump's in the Oval Office today, as you all know. They said instead of this troll farm being in Macedonia, now it's in America. It's right here in Phoenix, according to one critic. But then, of course, Turning Point Action fired back on this story. They said that the 26-year-old leader, Charlie Kirk, said that this is a gross mischaracterization of what we're doing. And Austin Smith said, who is one of their field directors, said, this is a sincere political activism conducted by real people who passionately hold the beliefs they describe online. Not an anonymous troll farm in Russia, they responded. Right. So if I felt a certain way about politics, wouldn't I be posting Twitter messages about it on my own? Do I need to be paid in order to do that? No. If you're passionate about a political position and you're a 13-year-old, you're going to post that information online on your own, won't you? You don't need to be paid by some conservative group in order to push out pro-Trump stuff. This is outrageous. I can't believe parents would allow this to happen either. But hey, they're going to make money off of it? Sure, I'll vote for Trump. And they're probably, in some ways, even it's like trying to buy your vote, too. There you go. The third thing that I think you need to know about today, President Trump last night in my home city of Philadelphia, and Philadelphia did not disappoint. Philadelphia is a tough crowd. If you've ever watched a Phillies game or an Eagles game, Philadelphia Eagles famously where the crowd threw the snowballs at Santa Claus during one of the Christmas games a number of years ago in the 1980s. They booed Santa Claus and threw snowballs at him. That's right. That's Philadelphia. Well, he was there hosting a town hall meeting last night, President Trump did, and instead of fielding questions from the press, which he can just yell at and call them fake news, he fielded questions from real voters. Real human beings. Yes, he did. He had to take some serious questions, and the verdict is in. It didn't go so well. It did not go so well. Here are just a few examples last night of what President Trump had to deal with last night in some of these questions. Watch this one woman. President Trump tries to interrupt her as she's talking about one of her health conditions that she's worried about losing because she has a pre-existing condition under Trump, any kind of Trump's health care rollbacks of Obamacare. And President Trump tries to interrupt her, and she says, "Excuse me, sir, let me finish." Oh, Philadelphia. Watch.
Should pre-existing conditions, which Obamacare brought to fruition, be removed?
No.
Please stop and let me finish my question, sir. Should that be removed within a 36 to 72 hour period without my medication? I will be dead. And I want to know what it is that you're going to do to assure that people like me who work hard, we do everything we're supposed to do, can stay insured. It's not my fault that I was born with this disease. It's not my fault that I'm a black woman and in the medical community I'm minimized and not taken seriously. I want to know what you are going to do about that.
So, first of all, I hope you are taken seriously. I hope you are.
There you go. That was one question. That was just one little example. One of the other big points of the night last night, this town hall in Philadelphia, is the question about what he knew about the coronavirus. What he knew and told Bob Woodward back in February, of course, in those interviews, veteran journalist Bob Woodward, whose new book is out now called Rage. How many of you are reading that book, by the way? I've read just about every Bob Woodward book that there is, going back to All the President's Men. But yeah, anyway, his new book is out. Anyway, one of the big things, of course, came out of those interviews, and they're all on tape. Bob Woodward recorded 19 different interviews, and Bob Woodward explained that often President Trump would call him at nighttime randomly, and he'd have to go get his recorder, and they'd sit there for hours and talk. So he would give these long interviews with Bob Woodward. These are his own words. If any of you have been living under a rock for the past week or so and missed what was said to Bob Woodward, here is what was said, and then we'll play some of the questions last night at this town hall. Take a listen.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't want to create a panic.
Here's what the president was asked about that tonight.
If you believe it's the president's responsibility to protect America, why would you downplay a pandemic that is known to disproportionately harm low-income families and minority communities?
Yeah. Well, I didn't downplay it. I actually, in many ways, I upplayed it in terms of action.
Okay, so here's the new word of the week. I upplayed it. I didn't downplay it, which in his own words, he's admitting to Bob Woodward that he's downplayed it. He downplayed it and didn't want to create quote unquote panic. Was making fun of people wearing masks, was saying that it's not as bad as the flu. And here he is telling Bob Woodward that it's worse than the flu. He knew it was. And he's now, this new word is upplay. Let's listen to it again. Upplay. I'm going to upplay this. I'm going to upplay this soundbite for you in case you missed it.
If you believe it's the president's responsibility to protect America, why would you downplay a pandemic that is known to disproportionately harm low-income families and minority communities?
Yeah. Well, I didn't downplay it. I actually, in many ways, I upplayed it in terms of action. My action was very strong. Yeah, because what I did was with China, I put a ban on. With Europe, I put a ban on. So we saved a lot of lives when we did that.
I upplayed it. So that's the new response. And this, again, last week when, of course, all this reporting came out from Bob Woodward, he went on multiple different interviews and says, yes, I did downplay it. Does he forget that literally a week ago, he admitted that he downplayed it? And now he's saying in this town hall to this young lady, I didn't downplay it, I upplayed it. Here he was, just to refresh your memory, because here we come for the truth on this show. This is the truth. These are the facts. Here's what President Trump said just last week about downplaying the virus in multiple different interviews.
Did you mislead the public by saying that you downplayed the coronavirus and that you repeatedly did that in order to reduce panic?
Well, I think if you said in order to reduce panic, perhaps that's so. I don't want people to be frightened. I don't want to create panic, as you say.
I want to show a calmness. I'm the leader of the country. I can't be jumping up and down and scaring people. I don't want to scare people. I want people not to panic. And that's exactly what I did.
Why did you lie to the American people, and why should we trust what you have to say now?
That's a terrible question, and the phraseology, I didn't lie. What I said is we have to be calm, we can't be panicked. And what I said to Woodward was actually good. I said calm, we need calm, we don't need panic.
Come on, man.
That's right, Joe. Come on, man. What I said to Woodward was good, that we don't need calm. I'm downplaying it. And I got to keep everyone, I got to hide this thing. I want to talk about it. It's always interesting, though, that we can talk as politicians about threats where we can start making a lot of money for our big money donors, right? Well, there's one guy over in Afghanistan who could be a threat to the United States and, could come for your children. He could be, he's a terrorist, ISIS. We got to watch out for ISIS. I'm going to talk about it as much as I can. And I'm going to tell you what a threat it is, and that's why we need to increase our military budget by 20%. And we need to keep ordering more missiles and more bombers, and we need to keep lining defense contractors' pockets. But when there's no opportunity in it, and there's no money in it for politicians, we'll downplay it. We'll keep it quiet. We're not going to even talk about it. We won't bring it up. Just whitewash the whole thing. Here's the fourth thing that you need to know about to start your day, and that is rich people are selling stocks like crazy. Yeah, this is true. Billions of stocks being sold right now. We should all be paying attention to this. Look, if I hate to say like the little guy, but that's really what it is. You and me, the little guys who get crushed by Wall Street, we get crushed by big corporations, all of these billionaires that run roughshod over us, knowing stuff that perhaps you don't have, the information you don't perhaps have the access to like they do. But they're selling billions of dollars in stocks. World's wealthiest people have sold more than $3 billion in stocks in major holdings since August. Because you know why? Volatility is back, baby. It's exactly why I don't invest in the stock market very much at all. I've got my Webull account and I have a few free stocks in there. I buy some Apple stocks. That's about it. The majority of my money is in real estate and in business. That's the smart play. And you should be too. Again, watching what these billionaires are doing with their money, taking their money out of the stock market, selling billions of dollars off. Warren Buffett selling billions of dollars and investing in gold and real estate. Something is happening, folks. And you got to check out the video that I did the other day on what's coming with this collapse. I'm telling you, you better pay attention to it, because what's going to happen is the people with their 401ks are going to get screwed. Right now, you have an opportunity under the CARES Act to take money out of your 401k without penalty and to put it into real estate. Get it out of this crazy volatile system right now. Put it into something else. Put it into gold, put it into silver, put it into real estate. If you have stomach for it and you're educated enough on it, put it into crypto as well. But folks, pay attention to what's happening right now. If you have a 401k or retirement plan and it's tied to the stock market, which it probably is, be very careful. I'm giving you the warnings right now. The writing is on the wall. And again, don't listen to what they say, watch what they do, and what they are doing right now is this: selling billions of dollars off in stock and repositioning their holdings. Please pay attention to it, okay? Please, please, please do not get caught holding the bag on this. President Trump last night at that town hall in Philadelphia talked about the stock market, and he talks about the economy. His economy's doing great. He said jobs numbers are great, and he's like, look, he mentioned this last night, everyone's got a 401k is doing great. People's 401ks are looking great until they're not. You remember what happened in 2008? People lost almost their entire retirement. People who were nearing retirement, when the whole market collapsed, they lost everything. Don't be left holding the bag with paper assets in the stock market. Please, please, please. And that's why you watch this show, because you're not going to have them saying this on CNBC. They're not going to tell you to sell your stocks on CNBC. They're not going to tell you to get out of the market and go and buy real estate, because that's how they make their money. Okay? So be careful. Be very careful. The fifth story that I think you need to know about today, these mysterious drones. and UFOs that are being spotted over military installations. This story, I can't believe is not getting more coverage in the mainstream media. Actually, I can believe it, because come on, we've got more important things to cover, I guess. These mysterious drone incursions have occurred over U.S. military installations, even going back as far as 2019. Anderson Air Force Base, which is on the island of Guam, and multiple other locations. These intruding craft are showing up over highly sensitive areas. They're showing up over, and these types of drones that these look like, I mean, these are like, store-bought almost, some of them. Some of them are huge, and some of them can't be identified. Quadcopter-like vehicles with bright spots that flew over water and then across the northwest base. They're not much higher than treetop level, about 20 to 30 feet off the ground. On a number of nights, the craft would make multiple incursions in the very early morning hours. They would show up, disappear, and then they would come back hours later. Should we not be concerned about this? That these craft are showing up on military bases, multiple military bases, and we don't know what they are, where they're from? This is not a national security threat? Why aren't we talking about this or reporting it? That is amazing to me. Yes, some drones, others, though, that don't look like drones, look entirely different, and we don't know what they are. We certainly know, if anyone's curious about this, obviously Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana, there's famous incidents of UFOs shutting down the nuclear facilities at Malmstrom Air Force Base. The nuclear sites, and multiple nuclear silos went offline. They are redundant systems. They are not connected to each other, meaning if one power grid goes down, the others act independently of them. Multiple eyewitnesses, high-level members of the military, see a giant UFO above these missile silos in Montana and watch as all of these computer systems are shut down and go offline. Is that not a national security threat? The U.S. Air Force pilot Favor, who witnessed those USS Nimitz UFOs off the coast of California back in 2004, has come forward this week saying that what he saw and what that dogfight that he basically ended up getting involved with those UFOs was an act of war. He described it as an act of war. If they're over our airspace and they are interacting with our aircraft, that is an act of war. And now we have these things showing up over military bases. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Those are the 5 things that you need to know today.